Amar'e Stoudemire's Stat, Chapter 9. I was in a pretty bad mood by the time I made it home. I just wanted to head inside and maybe zone out with some TV. But when I got there, Dad was pulling up from the other direction. The big trailer bounced up and over the curb as it made the wide, slow turn into the driveway. I walked alongside the truck as it eased to a stop. Then I waited for Dad to get out. "Now that was a full day's work," he said as he stepped down out of the driver's seat. He swung the door shut behind him and turned toward me. He was about to say something else, but as soon as he got a good look at me, he stopped. "Hey, Pops," I said. I could see his eyes taking in my scraped-up knee and my scratched-up arm. He was looking at me the way I once saw a guy look at his car after a fender bender downtown, carefully sizing up the damage. The only difference was that my dad wasn't thinking about the repair costs. He was probably just wondering what happened to this kid. "You look worse than I do," he said, "and I've been using a wood chipper all day." He was trying to cheer me up. I tried to smile, but I couldn't get the corners of my mouth to move any way but down. "I knew it was a mistake to play," I said. "What do you mean, Stat?" he said. Like I said before, Stat stood for standing tall and talented. I usually liked that, but I wasn't feeling all that tall or talented at the moment. "I should have just gone skateboarding or played baseball with Timmy and them," I said. The words came out in one big blurt. "You didn't get those scratches from a hard ball," said Dad. "I was playing hoops with Mike and Deuce," I said. "Nothing wrong with playing ball with your boys," said Dad. "No, I know, it's just—" I was trying to think of how to explain. "There are these kids who've been hogging the court, and I knew if I got dragged into it, it would end up being this whole big thing." I stopped and ran that back to see if I had made any sense, or if Dad was going to say anything about it. He was still standing there, though. He was wiping his hands on his work pants, but his eyes were still looking at me. He was still listening to what I had to say. He knew before I did that there was more coming. "Those guys are my best friends," I said. "It's just that they always want me to be playing hoops with them. But I'm into a bunch of things." "Yeah," said my dad. "You sure don't have any trouble keeping yourself busy." "I like baseball, football, skateboarding, and even reading about history and stuff," I said. I didn't even mention the music, movies, bowling, and other things. This was my dad, and he knew me as well as anyone. That's how he knew that it was his turn to talk. He put his big hands on my hips and looked back at the truck. Maybe he was checking on something, or maybe he was just putting his words in order. I think it might have been that second thing, because when he started talking, he seemed to know just what to say. "Son, we both know that you've got a gift for basketball," he said. "But your greatest gift is just being you. And like you said, that includes a lot of different interests. What you have to understand is that it's not one or the other. You can play hoops with your friends and still be yourself." "I guess," I said. He looked back at the trailer again, and this time he pointed to it. "It's just like you're part of my crew when you work. But you have your own thing," he said. "Those big riding mowers can't trim around those little trees and flower bushes. They'd run 'em right over. But you've never so much as plucked a petal." I thought about all the times I wheeled that little lawnmower around. All the bird baths and rose bushes I ducked and dodged. "Basketball's like that," he said. "You find your own thing out there, and your friends find theirs." He reached over and put his hand on my shoulder. "But I'll tell you one thing, son. When you find your place out there, you won't be any little push mower on the court." We stood there on the lawn, and I felt those last words sink in. I appreciated it, but talking about that mower reminded me I had something else to say. "I think this is the same group that's been messing up all your lawns," I said. "They just started coming around here, and they made the same kind of mess on the court." I thought Dad would be really mad, but he just shook his head. "Listen, Stat," he said. "I've been around a long time, and I've dealt with a lot worse than those kids. Don't you worry about that. I can take care of the lawns. You just take care of what you need to." Right then I knew what I had to do. My dad could take care of his turf. Now I needed to take care of mine. That smile, the one I was trying to make before, came out on its own now. "Thanks, Dad," I said. After dinner I thought about what he'd said for a long time. Later that night I made some phone calls. I got through to Deuce first. "Yo, D," I said. "Sup, man?" he said. I got right to the point. "We're playing them again tomorrow." He didn't say anything at first. Finally he said, "You sure?" I was. "Trust me," I said. "I have a plan." "Oh, yeah?" "Yeah." He wanted to know what it was, but I couldn't tell him just yet. I was still working out the details. "But you'll be there, right?" I said. "Amar'e, man, it's me," he said. "You know I will." "Yeah," I said. "I know it." Even before I made the next call, I knew Mike would be there too. We all would.